Corn School is brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
Bernard Tobin here for the Corn School, just outside Woodstock, Ontario at the Outdoor Farm Show site, joined by Ken Currah, Market Development Agronomist, Pride Seeds. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hey, it's a couple of days from Christmas, and we could go outside if we want because the weather has been so awesome.
Yep.
And another awesome thing to talk about, 2015 corn crop.
Yeah.
Just saw some numbers not so long ago, 170 bushels per acre, up from 160. An amazing year.
Yep.
Just take us through some of the highlights, Ken.
Well, first of all, let's qualify last year's 160 because of the test weight factor. And, you know, that corn being immature, a lot of it not making maturity in many areas of the province. I mean, if we add test weight to that crop, that 160 inflates too. And here we go, we pull another big one this year. And I'll qualify that further. You know, we have that 170 because basically everybody across the province had crop this year. Some areas were big, you know, the southwest, southwest of London, Ottawa Valley had a big crop for the most part. Around London and central region, you know, everybody had crop. But, you know, we also had growers that across their own operations harvested the worst farms of their lives and the best farms of their lives. Best farms of their lives due to just a crop grown in optimal conditions. Life was good, timely rains, good nitrogen management, good hybrids, all the rest of it, early planting. And then we have the areas that were hit by frost where there's some sub 100 bushel farms out there. So it was the full gamut this year of yields, but everybody had crop.
Right. So let's dive into the year a little bit, talk about some of the things that impacted and what we learned. So I'm going to do a sort of like a top 10 or a top question.
Sure.
So, and the question is, what do we learn? And so let's start it off with planting, early planting and some of the frost that we saw.
Yeah, so no shortage of data and just common knowledge out there that early corn, or, you know, as some growers I've seen them say on Twitter, you know, that early corn may not be our best corn when it's ultra early in April, but it's never our worst. So, I mean, the benefits of early planting are out there. Nobody's going to argue that. You know, for growers that got bit by the frost, those really heavy frost-prone soils, I think the one qualifier we have to remember this year, those growers have been through frost before where it burns down 2, 3, 4-leaf corn. You hope no larger. You know, but in that growth stages, it burns down, the damage is above the surface of the soil, and it grows back eventually. You just have to go fishing for a week or find some other way to divert your attention and the crop will come back. The change this year is that it was ultra dry in May, and when we got that frost on May the 23rd, that cold got down in there and did physiological damage to that seedling plant, and it regrew, and we have fields that regrew well over 20,000 plants per acre final, and yet the yields are 100 bushel or less. Yeah. And that tells you the degree of physiological damage. What do we do in future years? Do we plant our light grounds, our sands, and our low mucks and that kind of thing later? Depending on your operational needs, if you have other, you know, specialty crops to divert your time, yeah, you may want to plant them later because you can't afford the replant chance. But for the most part, we have to remember that the real mitigating factor this year was that it was so dry, and the extent of the damage beyond that. If we'd had any kind of moisture at all, any kind of rainfall in that week to kind of seal up the soil surface a bit, we would have gotten away a lot better off. Yeah. But overall, very challenging situation for a lot of agronomists more seasoned than I am in terms of experience in dealing with that. And it was really challenging to make those replant decisions.
Let's talk about hybrids. I think, you know, this year was the year where people talk about the potential of a hybrid.
Yeah.
And to get those conditions and see what they can do. The genetics are incredible.
It's amazing. Just amazing. You know, the good hybrids are the good hybrids. And what I really saw this year is, you know, the good hybrids, well managed, will actually outdo those more sturdy workhorse hybrids on some of the more challenging grounds, on the medium and low yield potential soils. You know, the good hybrids are the good hybrids. What was really amazing to me this year is visibly, if you walked into a corn crop in September, most areas look like a pretty nice crop, you were going to be happy. And then you do the kernel counts and the ear counts, and you're like, this doesn't look like what the math is telling me this is going to yield. It's telling me it's going to yield phenomenal. But, you know, the kernel counts and the ear counts were there. Visually, just looking at size and what you had didn't cut it. I mean, the combine really did go through those fields, and the weigh scales told the story. It was dandy. The good hybrids did a fantastic job.
Talk about what we learned about nitrogen, especially split nitrogen, which is obviously, a big topic of conversation.
Yeah, so this year, and I'll qualify, this year we learned that late nitrogen pays in a lot of cases. Again, this year, we got wet in June. We got past that frost period. We had ultra dry May, and we got rainfall in June and early July, and as everyone knows, in most areas the tap turned off in August. But those rainfalls, they caused some nitrogen management havoc out there, and late nitrogen paid. Even in a lot of cases where some growers with a lot of acres to play around and experiment, played around with side dress nitrogen at a 5 to 8 leaf stage versus a high clearance machine at that later stage, 5 foot tall corn and above versus a Y drop scenario. And really what that told us is, in general, if we paint everything with the same brush, that later nitrogen generally paid quite consistently versus the earlier stages. That's this year. And, rainfall predicated that, the way we got those rains. Had we been dry in June and early July, it might be a different story. But this year it paid, and it all dovetails into what we just talked about on the hybrids. These hybrids have outstanding potential, and if we figure out how to manage them around the growing season and weather trends, we're going to get some big returns.
Talk about, obviously, again, going back to the great weather, the great conditions this year, fungicides. What role did they play this year?
So fungicides don't increase yield potential, they protect it. That's the general selling statement with VT stage fungicides in corn. And this year, lots of potential. So you were protecting a percentage of that, which translated to more bushels. 20 bushel yield benefit was not uncommon. The visible plant health benefits were there for anybody that had drone footage or climbed their silo or climbed their elevator leg. They could see the test strips that they left untreated. Increased standability, which is what we've known for the near decade we've been doing this. Fungicides are part of this 170 bushel average too, with so many acres treated.
Let's talk about, I guess, where the season wrapped up with that incredible harvest. Everybody rolled through it. And, we're outside, we're looking at the green grass outside. I'm going to turn my horses out, but that's another thing. But what does this harvest mean, and especially from the perspective of residue management?
So finally an early harvest. This is my way wagon we're standing in front of here. No snow,
snow last time.
No de-icer, not a lot of mud on it this year. We didn't spend any time on the end of a chain, so it was a great fall, fantastic fall. Residue management wise, we came off of a year with really difficult corn residue to manage last year. It was immature, it was full of lignin. And the big thing is the weather conditions. When we went into the deep freeze post-harvest at New Year's, we had no residue breakdown through the winter, and it was perfectly preserved basically out of the freezer coming into the spring. Those stalks were tough, they were ropey, and they were really difficult to deal with for that mechanical operation of planting. Now we go to this year. And these stalks, we had fantastic dry down in corn. These corn plants were done. By the time we got to harvest, they were done. By the third week of October, there were cornfields that were, bent up. The tops were out of it. It looked like first week of December corn. Just these plants were done. So we got outstanding dry down out of it. But we also have a completely finished corn stalk, for lack of a better term. And now we've had warm weather basically all fall. That breakdown in microbial activity is still going on this week. If we're still on the golf courses this week, our corn residue is still breaking down. And you can see it breaking down in the fields that haven't been tilled, and just fantastic. Going to be much easier to work with. So again, like the frost, we look at the corn stalk problem of last year and that heavy residue and how to deal with it. 1 year problem that really we just file up in here for next time it happens and pull it out of our experience bank, and we learn how to make a better management decision.
Awesome. Well, lots of discussion over the winter, obviously, about what's going on outside now, what we learned this year, and obviously what's going to happen with the Blue Jays next year.
What's going to happen to the Blue Jays next year?
Maybe we take the average corn to 180 bushels per acre and
maybe
the World Series.
That'd be nice, and I think we'll sign up for that on both counts.
Good stuff. Merry Christmas, Ken.
Yeah, thank you. You as well, Bern.
Awesome. We'll see you in the new year.
Right on.